Welcome to the Wrestling Still Cool podcast. I'm Cam. That's Mark.
Hey, y'all doing? Appreciate y'all joining in.
So we're recording this the night of NXT War Games. But before we get into all the weekly stuff, including what happened on War Games, you can follow us on Twitter at WrestlingSCool and take it over for the rest of the socials.
The Instagram at Wrestling Still Cool. We have Facebook, Wrestling Still Cool, and we all have TikTok at Wrestling Still Cool 90. And Gmail account, you send an email what you think about the podcast and what we should do as far as reviews and so whatnot and what guests we should have. Wrestling Still Cool at gmail.com. Give us a holler on DM or by email.
All right, so let's go ahead and get into it. One of the big stories of this week is the passing of Pat Patterson.
Sir, very sad. Pioneer, team member, family member of his own and the WWE and the wrestling community for many, many, many years. I think about 50 years. And first Intercontinental Champion in a tournament back in the 70s, I think 79. And he is the founder of the Royal Rumble match that we all love so much. Creator, mentor, you name it. And we lost him this past week at the age of 79, I believe it was. And yeah, it's unfortunate. And he's up there with a bunch of people that he's gonna have a good time catching up with. I'm booking the shows up there as I think it was Rey Mysterio that said that, but I think it's great. As far as his career, you know what I mean? Yeah, he had a great career. That's what I mean by that. Great career and a lot of memories and love. And, helped out a lot of people. He's up there with me, Eugene, and Eddie, and a whole bunch of others.
So what I was going to say is the tournament in Rio de Janeiro. One of the funniest things about that is people are like, we can't even find an advertisement for it. And they're like, we're convinced that Vince just gave it to him and wanted to create the story of the tournament in Rio de Janeiro just to make it more prestigious, since it was the Intercontinental title. But one of the things that Pat Patterson played a big role in is the finishes in WWE for a long time. Eric Bischoff had mentioned when he came into WCW, he had to find his Pat Patterson. He had to find someone that could make the finishes more interesting. He said one of the worst things that he dealt with is God, who led the Dungeon of Doom? What was his name?
Oh, Kevin
Sullivan. So he goes, Sullivan's finishes were, he goes, they're goofy, they made no sense, and you couldn't carry a story after that. And one of the reasons he hired Johnny Laurinaitis was for the idea of being able to have someone for his finishes. So he left a mark on the wrestling industry as a whole. One of the things that both you and I give WWE a flack about is that they're dealing with Gerald Briscoe, where they pretty much just let him go for no reason, didn't let him retire. I will give them credit where credit is due. When they had the memorial for Pat Patterson, Vince flew Gerald Briscoe to the back for Gerald Briscoe to be part of that.
Yeah, I see him there on SmackDown. I was like, that's good he's there. And that's, but you think, especially, seeing what they call the Three Stooges back in the 90s, Pat Patterson or Briscoe were, it's a big part of all that stuff. And, they're very close, like brothers in real life and everything. So it's, I'm glad they brought Gerald for that. That was really special.
Yeah. It'd
Like
be interesting.
Okay.
It was gonna be interesting what WWE does now. Now that they don't have their finished guy involved.
Yeah.
I have a feeling. I have a feeling that they would probably put someone in the place that's probably nearly as good at it.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Had
a little moment of silence, like few seconds. All right.
So, because we mentioned Gerald Briscoe and the releases, one of the releases that's come back to bite WWE is Sting.
Yeah.
He
I
debuted
was,
in AEW.
man, I was surprised. I had to catch it on Instagram. It was the DVR that ran low on space. My whole family took that space over. But anyways, saw it, man. I thought, man, that's cool. So I actually saw it on YouTube, and yeah, it's cool to see him back in there. Honestly, it's like he's giving. I've heard a lot of different comments, a lot of different feedback and feelings about it. I think it's cool to see him back on TNT in the wrestling business, however you want to call it. But I think it's cool. I mean, it's just seeing what he's gonna bring to the scenery. I think it's a great thing, honestly. I hope it runs even better in AEW than it was in WWE. I mean, obviously, the best thing about his run in WWE was being the Hall of Fame, of course, wrestling at WrestleMania, even though a lot of people are not big fans of the finish of that match. But I think it's great to see him in AEW. Give him back and mentoring a lot of the young bucks in there. No, that's no pun intended, really.
Mm-hmm.
Young ones down there just need some help and some guidance. So I think it's cool. It's a lot of people have different feelings about that. I think it's just I think it's so cool. It just the how he's gonna be booked. And what you think?
So for me, like I want to address something kind of off the cuff, if you will. A lot of people are like, well, when WWE brings back old people, everyone talks negatively about WWE, but AEW can do it. Here's the thing: I don't expect Sting to have matches at all. And they even discussed this after his debut that he won't be really taking bumps. They're going to try and protect him as much as possible due to his health and due to his age. What this allows AEW to do is to pair him up with somebody as maybe like a manager type role, where he kind of takes them under his wing, which I suspect would be Darby Allin, since their characters are already similar. And if he can kind of help elevate AEW by being there, I'm all for it. Now, if Sting runs through and beats literally everybody, including Kenny Omega, that's a problem, and I would not be for that. If you're using this to elevate everybody and provide another person that could possibly be a manager, and kind of in the same vein as Jake the Snake Roberts, I'm okay with it. But they got to be protective. They have to make sure that they don't make his injuries worse. One of the things that was kind of interesting is hearing Tony Schiavone do the "It's Sting" again from back in his WCW days. You could tell Tony Schiavone was excited to have Sting there.
Yeah.
And people, don't be trolls with Tony Schiavone. He don't play that. If you guys haven't seen the video, someone made a remark that Sting is a corpse, and Tony Schiavone lashed right back at them. So,
Wow. Yeah, man.
yeah, don't do that. Tony Schiavone has no time for that. So it'll be somewhat interesting to see what he does. Which actually, okay, you didn't watch the AEW because your DVR issue. There's
Yeah.
also
Sorry, go ahead.
there's something else I want to address from that. There was a match between Frankie Kazarian and Chris Jericho. I don't know what's going on with Chris Jericho, but he was having problems in that match. He did perform pretty well. He did the normal heel stuff, but you can tell Chris Jericho is not feeling it. And what I mean by not feeling it, it's not the creative side of it. It's either his age or he's out of shape, and it's catching up to him.
Yeah, every day matters. Every day matters, man. It's at some point in time, I think he already realizes now that is obviously I know he realizes it now is that he can't have the best showing each and every time. The best showing out there in the ring it's hard to do.
Mm-hmm.
You're gonna have off nights. It's he's Not exactly. Was he 50 years old?
He's about that, if not slightly older.
Yeah, it's man, he keeps in great shape. He really does. It's just that especially for someone in his age range, he's been doing it for 30 years, and I mean, I didn't watch the match, but I just by my own, Father Time, man. It's just some nights are just off. It's the best way I can say. It's just in any time and age, but just it could have been one of those nights.
And this is not picking on Jericho. It's just one of the things I noticed has kind of been catching up to him lately, and that was more. It was more apparent because he was working with Frankie Kazarian, which Frankie Kazarian is, all over the place all the time. So
yeah, absolutely.
it became very, very apparent that Jericho could not keep up. Which at the end of that, and this was at the end of AEW, so to give you kind of an idea, since you didn't see it, what to expect, Jericho laid down an ultimatum that he's tired of the Inner Circle fighting, and that either going to figure out how to get along, or the Inner Circle's dead, essentially. I don't think it's going to go that route, which it seems deferred of logic. Why not kick out the two people causing problems, aka Wardlow and MJF?
Yeah.
But
I'm not even I wasn't all for that them joining anyways. It's just for a little angle, it's fine. But in either way, I wasn't a big fan of them join. I think he's just fine by himself the way he's been doing it. But I understand there's a storyline they want to try out with and just see what they can get out of it. I think he's been okay. But, at the Inner Circles, it's just not really the same in that fashion with him and Wardlow in there. It's just they need to be on their own path. But it's a good way to keep MJF busy, on TV in a good way and getting busy. Evolve them a little bit. But of course, your characters are MJF and Jericho. Their characters have obviously similarities to it. But yeah, it's just it might be time for them to eventually do something else.
Yeah.
Both of them. Both MJF and Wardlow and the Inner Circle.
Yeah. Well, in my opinion, if the Inner Circle is over, it wouldn't necessarily would be a bad thing. I think the association with Jericho did elevate Guevara, did elevate Hager, and elevated Proud and Powerful. So I don't think any of them technically need the group anymore. But it'll be interesting to see. Jericho works better as a heel with a bunch of people helping him. So we'll see how it goes.
Absolutely. There was one more thing I want to add on to the same thing.
Yeah, go for it.
Talking about when WWE brings back the older guys, people are saying one thing, and of course AEW does it. It's a good thing. Well, it's like I said, if he runs through them like tomorrow, and he looks like $1 million as far as he looks like he's going to be destroying people, as they sometimes say.
Like Goldberg.
Yeah, but I really perceive it being that way, and I don't think Tony Khan is that blindsided by that. But what he should and shouldn't do. I just think it's good to have him in there, bring some attention. Of course, we're going to hear the argument that I made a comment on somebody's post recently about that, and I was like, this argument's been going on for over 20 years. It's more than 25 years. It's the same thing that's been talked about with different people and different companies. WCW was at fault apparently because, let's bring over all these WWF guys, and it was a different situation. And this is a different situation. WWE was a different situation. I don't think it's great that certain people kind of ran through people, but I never had a problem with WWE bringing back the older guys. I never had a problem with that. It's just more or less how you book it. That's